Look closely at this piece of paper. It is a standard piece of paper, nothing magical about the cotton blend or the black ink. But this is an IRS Form W-2, and if you read the total compensation box right here, printed in stark black ink, the number is $185,000. 185,000. For 99% of the global population, this number represents absolute, unquestionable financial salvation. It is the peak of the mountain. It is the American dream realized, printed out, and sent to a mailbox every January. Now shift your eyes from this majestic tax form and look at this screen. This is a live screenshot of a Chase Bank checking account. It was taken on the 29th of the month, exactly 24 hours before payday. The available balance? $412.30. There is a mathematical massacre happening between these two images. A silent, excruciating bleeding of wealth that destroys the lives of some of the most highly educated, incredibly intelligent, and theoretically smart people to ever walk the earth. These are people who can write complex software code, perform advanced cardiovascular surgeries, and manage multi-million-dollar corporate marketing portfolios, yet they cannot manage to keep a single dollar inside their own pockets. How does a six-figure salary completely evaporate into thin air? Why do the smartest people you know secretly panic every time the credit card statement arrives in their inbox? Today, we are opening the financial autopsy of the modern American high earner. We are going to look strictly under the hood of a lifestyle that looks like $1 million on Instagram, but is completely entirely financed by chronic stress, astronomical consumer debt, and a psychological illusion so powerful, it is wiping out the middle and upper middle class without them even noticing. Welcome to the paradox of the broke genius. Hi, my name is Bill, Dollar Bill. And before we dissect how a massive salary can actually keep you poor, I want to formally welcome you to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and spending your valuable time with me today. Let me know down in the comments exactly what city or state you are watching this from. I always love seeing how far this community reaches across the country and the world. And if you learned something valuable today, please leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell so we can keep building real wealth together. Let us begin this autopsy by properly examining our subject. His name is Arthur. Arthur is 38 years old. He is a senior software engineer living in a beautiful sun-drenched, heavily gentrified suburb just 30 minutes outside of Austin, Texas. By every single traditional metric taught in the American public school system, Arthur is a winner. He followed the rules. He got the good grades in high school. He attended a prestigious out-of-state university. He sacrificed his 20s grinding through endless coding boot camps, late-night study sessions, and unpaid internships, surviving on ramen noodles and anxiety. And now, as he nears 40, his compensation package places him firmly in the top tier of American earners. He brings home a base salary of $185,000 a year, supplemented by occasional corporate performance bonuses that usually add another $10,000 to $15,000. If you drive past Arthur's house, you will see the physical manifestation of undeniable success. A towering modern 4-bedroom home with immaculate landscaping, fresh mulch, and a beautiful oak tree in the front yard. A brand new, flawless midnight silver Tesla Model Y parked in the driveway, completely spotless. The organic groceries delivered directly to his porch by Whole Foods. The premium mega gym memberships. The weekend trips to luxury resorts in Sedona or Aspen. Arthur is smart. Arthur is successful. Arthur is living the dream. But Arthur cannot sleep at night. Because beneath the shiny, polished veneer of this beautiful Austin lifestyle, Arthur is drowning. He is gasping for air. He is a victim of a very specific, highly lethal financial disease. It is an illness that specifically targets the intelligent and the high income. In behavioral economics, we call it the ego premium. But you probably know it as the classic, undeniable trap of lifestyle creep. Let's run the real numbers. Let's conduct a full autopsy of his cash flow. Let's look at the blood flow of Arthur's finances to understand exactly how a massive river of cash turns into a dried-up puddle at the end of every single month. When people hear $185,000, they imagine a king's ransom. They imagine Scrooge McDuck diving into a vault of gold coins. But the reality of high income earning in America is that the Internal Revenue Service gets the very first and very largest bite of the apple. Let's break down the taxes. Arthur is single, which means he is hit the hardest. On a $185,000 salary, his federal income tax liability is going to be roughly $36,000. That's before we even talk about state taxes. Luckily, Arthur lives in Texas, which has no state income tax. But if he lived in California or New York, you could shave another $14,000 off the top. Then comes FICA, which includes Social Security and Medicare taxes. That is another $11,000 gone. Before Arthur even wakes up on payday, before he even buys a single cup of coffee, the government has reached into his pocket and taken nearly $50,000. Arthur is not making $185,000. In terms of liquidity, he is making $135,000. Then we factor in health insurance premiums taken directly from his paycheck and a moderate $401K contribution because Arthur is smart, and smart people know they should at least put in enough to get the company match. This deducts another $15,000 over the course of the year. So what actually hits his Chase bank account? What is the real tangible cash flow that Arthur gets to touch? It is exactly $120,000 a year. That breaks down to exactly $10,000 a month in net take-home pay. $10,000 a month. Surely, a highly educated, smart man can build an incredible financial empire with 10 grand a month, right? Most American families operate on half of that. Wrong. Because Arthur's intelligence is heavily, inextricably tied to his ego. You see, when Arthur got promoted to senior engineer, his brain did not say, "Great, now we have a massive surplus. We can save and invest 50% of our income and retire a decade early." His brain said something entirely different. His brain said, "I am a senior engineer now. I am in my late 30s. I am an executive. I cannot drive the 2014 Honda Civic anymore. What will the junior developers think when I pull into the parking lot? What will the neighbors think? What will the girls on Hinge think? I am a smart man, and I deserve a lifestyle that reflects my hard-earned intellectual status." Enter the Tesla model. Why Arthur didn't buy it in cash, of course. He financed it via a lease. Because smart people frequently convince themselves that cars are rapidly depreciating assets, so why own one outright? He read a blog post that told him leasing was the financially savvy maneuver for a tech professional to keep liquidity. Now a $750 monthly payment is siphoning out of his account automatically every single month, like clockwork. But it's not just $750. Arthur forgot about the smart tax of luxury ownership. Premium electric vehicle insurance coverage in Texas? That's another $180 a month. Annual registration fees? Another large bite. So he is bleeding essentially $1,000 a month just to sit in bumper-to-bumper traffic on the I-35 highway. Then comes the real monster, the house. Arthur's beautiful $750,000 home in the Austin suburbs was purchased recently. He put down 10% $75,000, which completely wiped out the meager savings account he had built in his 20s. This means he financed a massive $675,000 mortgage at a modern 7% interest rate. If you have never looked at an amortization schedule, it is a psychological horror movie written in numbers. During the first 10 years of a 30-year 7% mortgage, the vast, overwhelming majority of every single monthly payment goes straight to interest. It goes directly to the bank. You are essentially renting the money. Arthur's monthly mortgage principal and interest payment is about $4,500. But again, Arthur lives in Texas. There's no state income tax, but property taxes are notoriously brutal. His property tax adds another $1,400 a month to his escrow. Homeowner's insurance adds another $200. Private mortgage insurance, or PMI, because he didn't put 20% down, adds another $150. His actual real-world monthly payment is hovering dangerously close to $6,250. Let's pause and absorb that terrifying mathematical reality. Out of his $10,000 monthly take-home pay, over $6,000 is incinerated on the very first day of the month, instantly, just to keep a roof over a house that is largely empty while he sits in a corporate office or stares at a computer screen, working 50-hour weeks simply to pay for it. We are barely 5 minutes into Arthur's monthly budget, and his $10,000 has shrunk to $2,750. Reset Diatenkau, the hidden costs of looking rich. But a smart earner doesn't just upgrade their transportation and their shelter. A smart earner feels compelled to upgrade their entire existence. Because why would a senior technology executive eat standard processed food from Walmart? His grocery bill transitions exclusively to premium organic supermarkets like Whole Foods and artisanal delivery services. Why spend $40 on chicken when you can spend $90 on free-range, grass-fed, locally sourced, emotionally supported poultry? His food budget inflates to $1,200 a month for one single person. We are down to $1,550. Why would a senior engineer sit on an old, cheap sofa from IKEA? He doesn't. He finances a beautiful, custom $4,000 restoration hardware cloud couch on a highly punitive store credit card because the salesman told him it's 0% interest for the first 12 months. He takes the bait. Never mind that the sofa doesn't actually improve his life. It just fills the massive, terrifying, empty space in his newly purchased suburban living room. Then comes the ultimate, most devastating trap of the intellectual class. The points game, the credit card churning illusion. Arthur considers himself too sophisticated, too mathematically advanced to use a standard debit card. Debit cards are for the lower class, he tells himself. He watches highly optimized YouTube videos about credit card churning. He opens incredibly expensive, premium cards like the Chase Sapphire Reserve and the American Express Platinum. He happily pays $600 annual fees for pieces of titanium because the exclusive airport lounge access, the global entry credits, and the travel points mathematically pay for themselves. This is the grand illusion. This is where smart people die financially. Credit card companies love smart, high-income people. They absolutely feast on them. By using premium credit cards for every single daily transaction, from a $3 iced latte to an $800 Friday night dining bill with his colleagues, Arthur entirely decouples his brain from the physical, psychological pain of parting with money. Studies in neuroeconomics show that swiping a card does not trigger the same pain receptors in the human brain as handing over physical paper cash. It feels like a simulation. It feels like a video game. Because Arthur is points hacking, he spends 20 to 30% more every month simply because he is chasing imaginary digital airline miles. He justifies buying a $200 pair of shoes he doesn't need by telling himself he is earning 3x points on the purchase. And when the 29th of the month finally arrives, and his Chase checking account only has $412 left to its name, the brutal reality sets in. He cannot pay the entire credit card balance in full. Suddenly, the man who thought he was outsmarting the multi-billion-dollar banking system is now paying 24% compound interest on a sushi dinner he ate 2 months ago. The credit card companies are making billions in predatory interest, all while Arthur proudly, somewhat tragically, slams his heavy metal card on the table to show off to his friends. This is exactly how a $185,000 income zeroes out. It does not happen with one massive, stupid purchase like a yacht or a private jet. It happens through 1,000 tiny, socially acceptable, incredibly lethal cuts. Pacing de Respiraca, the Ego Premium, and the Peacock. Stop for a moment. Look at your own life. Have you noticed this invisible magnetic pull? The unseen gravitational force that constantly demands you buy better things, the precise moment you earn more paper money? This is not a modern capitalistic phenomenon engineered in the last 50 years. This is deeply rooted in our evolutionary biology. In nature, animals use a concept called costly signaling theory. Think of a peacock. The male peacock has an enormous, vibrantly colored, massive tail. From a pure evolutionary survival standpoint, this tail is a catastrophically stupid physical adaptation. It is incredibly heavy. It requires massive amounts of metabolic energy to grow. It gets caught in the bushes. And worst of all, it makes the bird sluggish, slow, and highly visible to apex predators like tigers and wild dogs. So why on earth does the peacock carry it? Why doesn't evolutionary selection eliminate it? Because the tail sends an unmistakable message to the female peacocks and to the rest of the world. It says, "Look at me. I have so many resources, and I am so genetically superior that I can afford to drag around this useless, heavy, dangerous ornament and still survive. Human beings are identical. We are just sophisticated peacocks wearing modern suits and holding iPhones." When Arthur finances a massive $750,000 house with empty rooms he doesn't fully use, and leases a luxury electric car that depreciates by the hour, he is holding up a giant, heavy tail. He is signaling to society that his resources are vast. He is screaming to the world, "Look how successful I am." But just like the bird in the wild, this heavy display makes him incredibly dangerously vulnerable. The moment a predator appears, and in the human world, a predator is an unexpected $10,000 medical bill, a sudden mass corporate layoff in the tech sector, or a sudden economic downturn and recession, Arthur cannot run. His heavy tail of fixed living costs pins him to the ground. He has absolute zero agility. He is entirely trapped by the very status symbols he proudly bought to look free. And this leads us directly into the most tragic, chaotic part of this financial autopsy. The Dunning-Kruger effect of financial management. Because Arthur is highly intelligent in his specific career, he naturally assumes he is also a genius when it comes to capital markets and macroeconomic strategy. When Arthur finally realizes he is broke, his ego completely prevents him from doing the boring, embarrassing, highly effective work of cutting his lifestyle back. A senior engineer cannot downgrade gracefully. He cannot sell the Tesla and buy a used Honda. He cannot rent out a room in his massive house. His ego will not allow it. Instead, Arthur tries to outsmart the very problem he created. He doesn't start aggressively budgeting. He doesn't cancel the streaming subscriptions or the bespoke meal delivery kits. No, Arthur, logging into a brokerage app and starts trading complex financial derivatives. He hears about options trading on a podcast. He thinks to himself, "I am a smart guy. If I can code a machine learning algorithm and debug a complex server architecture, I can definitely predict the short-term price movements of Nvidia, Tesla, and Apple." This, my friends, is the absolute graveyard of the smart earner. They try to use intense complexity to solve a problem that was created by simple, unchecked overconsumption. Arthur starts buying short-term call options. He starts using margin to amplify his purchasing power. He attempts to day trade his way out of a cash flow crisis, ignoring the reality that active trading is a zero-sum game played against supercomputers. The market, which does not care about his college degree, his high IQ, or his job title, ruthlessly absorbs his liquidity. Wall Street algorithms, designed by teams of mathematicians whose only job is to extract wealth from retail traders, completely outmaneuver him. He loses $10,000 in a single week on a bad earnings report play. This devastating loss pushes him further into credit card debt, increasing his stress, ruining his mental health, destroying his sleep, and trapping him in a vicious, unbreakable cycle of high-income poverty. He becomes a hamster on a wheel. But the wheel is made of solid gold, and he is running himself to an early grave. Reset Tenkau, the alternative path, the wealthy neighbor. Let us zoom out from Arthur's beautiful, heavily mortgaged Austin window. Look exactly across the street. There's a smaller, older house. It is a modest 3-bedroom ranch built in the late 1990s. It doesn't have a giant oak tree, just a simple lawn. In the driveway, there's a 10-year-old gray Toyota Camry. The paint is slightly fading on the rear bumper. The tires are basic. The man who lives quietly in that house is named Mike. Mike is an administrative manager at a regional logistics warehouse. He doesn't have a master's degree from a prestigious out-of-state university. He does not know how to code advanced artificial intelligence. Mike makes exactly $80,000 a year, less than half of Arthur's prestigious salary. If society were to look at these two men side by side, parked on the exact same street, society would instantly crown Arthur the absolute winner. Society would say Mike is falling behind. Mike is decidedly average. Mike failed to hustle. Mike didn't optimize his career path. But let's conduct a financial autopsy on Mike. Let's look under his hood. Mike's old ranch house was bought well within his means 10 years ago. He locked in a simple, affordable mortgage. And because he didn't instantly upgrade to a mansion when he got his first managerial raise, his fixed mortgage payment, including taxes and insurance, is only $1,400 a month. That fading gray Toyota Camry in the driveway, it hasn't had a car payment attached to it in over 6 years. It just requires oil changes and a little bit of grace. Mike doesn't play the points game. He doesn't pay a $600 annual fee to sit in an airport lounge twice a year. He uses a simple no-fee cashback credit card, and he pays the balance in full, to the exact penny, every single Friday. Because Mike's fixed costs are incredibly low, his $80,000 salary feels like a boundless, overflowing ocean of liquidity. He never stresses on the 29th of the month. Every single month, without stress, without checking stock charts, without reading macroeconomic forecasts, Mike quietly funnels $2,000 straight into a boring, unsexy, broad market S&P 500 index fund. He doesn't trade options. He doesn't buy the latest hype cryptocurrency. He doesn't try to time the market. He just buys a tiny fractional piece of American business, reinvests the dividends, and goes to sleep. Mike has been doing this quietly, consistently, like a machine, for 15 years. Today, Mike's investment portfolio is quietly sitting at over $750,000. He has an emergency fund that could cover 2 full years of his living expenses if he ever got fired from the logistics warehouse. Arthur has the loud illusion of wealth. Mike has actual, terrifying, unshakable financial power. Mike possesses the ultimate currency that Arthur has completely forfeited: the absolute power of choice. If Arthur's corporate boss demands he work a brutal 70-hour week to finish a project, Arthur has to say yes. He must bow his head and comply, because the massive Tesla lease, the soaring property taxes, and the $6,250 mortgage are due in exactly 14 days. The heavy peacock tail demands constant fuel. But if Mike's boss makes the exact same demand, Mike can look at his bank accounts, politely smile, hand in his resignation letter without a second thought, and spend the next 2 solid years fishing with his kids without a single drop of sweat appearing on his forehead. True wealth is not what you see. True wealth is invisible. We have been conditioned by social media, television, and marketing executives to believe that wealth is the cars not purchased, the luxury watches not worn, the zero-balance credit cards, and the boring index funds compounding quietly in the dark. Smart earners constantly go broke because they believe their massive income makes them immune to the basic, Fundamental laws of mathematics. They believe their cash flow is a permanent shield, a magic spell that will never break, and they use it to violently acquire massive liabilities that they proudly label as assets. They dig an ego-driven hole so incredibly deep that not even a massive six-figure ladder can help them climb out. If you are earning a strong income right now, or if you are aiming for one, you must deeply engrave this autopsy into your mind. You must brutally divorce your ego from your spending habits. You must embrace the immense, undeniable power of being boring. Stop trying to outsmart the financial system with complex engineering. The math of getting wealthy has never changed, and it is remarkably simple. Keep your fixed costs terrifyingly low, aggressively avoid the trap of looking rich, and violently acquire boring, compounding assets that produce cash rather than consume it. You do not need to be a certified genius to build an empire. You do not need a high IQ to conquer the world. But you do need the humility, the discipline, and the profound self-awareness to avoid spending like one. So here is the ultimate question you need to ask yourself tonight, right before you close your eyes and go to sleep. Are you dragging around a heavy, expensive tale just to prove to absolute strangers that you are succeeding in life? Or are you quietly, methodically hoarding your freedom for the day you actually want to spread your wings and fly? Thank you so much for watching. I truly, deeply appreciate the time you spent here today dissecting this with me. If you're ready to start building invisible wealth and stop playing the fake rich game, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay smart, but more importantly, stay free.